You're now listening to From the Jump, where we keep the convo going with the latest and greatest in hip-hop. With your hosts, Mr. Wyte and Syllable. They tell it like it is.
From the Jump.
Welcome to From the Jump. We got Mr. Wyte to my right.
Yo, what up?
This is Syllable, and we are featuring Legion now. For From the Jump, we are talking about all things hip-hop, and we're doing features as well for Austin MCs, and we're here in the wonderful city of Austin, Texas, home for South by Southwest, and currently right now, ACL. So how's it going, Legion? How you doing?
It's going all right, man. It's a nice little day and shit. Oh, can we curse?
Can motherfucking curse.
Yeah, you can talk.
Okay, that's what's up. That's what's up.
Yes,
I've done too many interviews where I can't cuss, and it's a little annoying.
Parental advisory for sensitive listeners. Tell us a little about kind of your history, like how you got into hip hop, where that's kind of started and began, when you like made that transition from a fan of hip hop to a performer of hip hop, and kind of give us some background on your origin.
It probably started way back ages ago, when I was about, 11. I was listening to hip hop as soon as I was able to like get my own tapes, you know what I'm saying? Because for a long time, so my first ever piece of music was a 45 that was it was the Less Than Zero soundtrack single, Going Back to Cali. So LL Cool J. And then on the other side,
back to Cali.
Yeah,
and
I'm going back to Cali.
Young,
oh, you talking about that other
going back to Cali? I don't think so.
And for our listeners who are of a different generation, the 45 is vinyl. It is
right,
a record. Not a CD, a record.
Singles used to be released on smaller versions of record. So you had your big record that was the whole album, and then you had a small version called a 45 that you would have the single, and then you would have another song on the B side. So you flip the record over, and on the other side was Jack the Ripper. So the song Jack the Ripper was like a battle rap song in the 80s that LL Cool J made, whereas Going Back to Cali was more like a radio jam or whatever. So I used to recite Jack the Ripper like backwards and forwards. I knew all the lyrics to it and stuff, and people would ask me to rap the song, like adults and stuff would be like, rap that Jack the Ripper, you know what I'm saying? And I spit it real quick or whatever. That was like my first real taste of music. I had like a little play school record player that came. It was like a little suitcase that was for kids, you know what I'm saying? And it was like a little plastic white suitcase. I could flip it open, and I just had like a stack of records. And I really started getting into hip hop where I thought it was something I wanted to do when I was listening to KZI on Saturdays back in the day.
8.7.
When I was like, 10, 11, 12, they had a show on Saturday afternoons that played hip hop. And then they had one on Saturday nights that played hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that.
They had Texas Top 40 that was hosted by Todd Engel, and it was the main radio show for hip hop here. Like, so anything that wasn't just the same mainstream rotation stuff was played on that show. And on Saturdays, on Saturdays in the daytime, they play the mainstream stuff. And then at night, they'd play like all the local stuff and Texas stuff, and just stuff that wasn't played on the radio like that. You know what I'm saying? And I really, really got into it, like just vibing out on Saturdays, listening to KZI, you know what I'm saying? And
dope.
Started recording my own tapes and stuff, like little mixtapes and stuff. From there, you know what I'm saying, I decided that I just wanted to do music, and I started writing rhymes at about 14, 15. I started making actually recording myself. You know what I'm saying? I worked at the rodeo for like a week in the heat to get the money to go buy my first pieces of my studio. I had like a little 4-track tape recorder, a little beat machine that I could only put like 3 instruments plus the drums in there. Nice. So 4 instruments and all, and I had a tape deck to mix everything down to. And that's how I first started making music. you know.
Do you still remember the lyrics to Jack the Ripper?
I don't remember the lyrics to Jack the Ripper. I remember some of the lyrics to Going Back to Cali. You know what I'm saying? Going back to Cali, styling, profiling, and finally realizing she sizing me up. Her bikini, small, heels, tall. She said she liked the ocean. And then they like cut up the fucking music. That shit was dope, bro. That was, people don't, you know, and don't nobody remember that song now, probably. But that song was the shit back in the day. I was fascinated with how the juxtaposition of hip hop from other styles of music and how everything was very similar and derived from the same thing ultimately.
What else were you listening to besides hip hop?
Originally, I would listen to a lot of classical music back in the day. Also, blues. My parents played, you know, Bobby Blue Bland, a lot of B.B. King, and then some smooth jazz. You know what I'm saying? It's like on some Kenny G type shit, but not necessarily Kenny G, but that style. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so it's just basically instrumental shit, stuff that motherfuckers will let me listen to. But the first time I could get a tape, like I bought a bootleg Bone Thugs and Harmony album, the East 1999 album. Like I was desperate to get that. And I had to hide it from my parents and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that was really the beginning. But Bone Thugs and Harmony was one of my biggest influences. There's also a cat called Brother Lynch Hung. Those are probably the two biggest influences on my music. You know,
what was the first show that you did?
Man, the first show that I did, it's a crazy story, man. These cats that I was producing beats for had a show that they had booked at a club on 6th Street. It's no longer there, called Empire. They had fell out with the producer that was gonna do the show mix. And so they came to me at the last minute and were like, we need beats for all these songs for this show that we got to do like tomorrow at Empire. And I was like, okay, bring everybody over here. I need y'all each to rap y'all songs. I'm gonna like write it down, take notes, and then I'm gonna go make beats to each one of these. And so I had each one of them rap their song. You know what I'm saying? I wrote it down and memorized the tempo and shit, and the feel of the track. And then I just sat down and I was like, okay, y'all have to leave now because I'm gonna make beats to each one of these. And so I just made beats to each one of them. Then I had them come back and practice to it, man. And we went out there and it was crazy. Like when we get there and I turned and I asked the leader of the group, y'all ready? He turned and he looked at me like this. He was like, yeah. I was like, oh no. And I realized they was all fucked up. Like all of them blitzed beyond belief.
Like
but we pulled it off. We pulled it out. Because on top of that, they was like, we want you to do a set at the end. So I had this long fucking set and everybody else's parts were kind of divided up in one big set. And so we did it. There was some debacles there. One guy was too drunk to do his stuff correctly. You know how that go.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was dope. But that was the first show I ever did. And that was like 2002, something like that. You know, and it wasn't really, it was like a one-off spur of the moment thing, but it taught me a lot of lessons about how to approach going into a show, how to be professional, how not to be professional, breath control. So I almost died. You know what I'm saying? I got through my set. I don't think a whole lot of people knew, but there was a point to where I was like, am I about to die right now? You know, like, and luckily I had a couple seconds I could breathe, and I was like, okay, maybe I'm not gonna die right now, but I'm never let that shit happen again. You know?
Yeah, breath control is important. It's one of those things where people getting into rap don't really think about this when they first start out. I know that when I first started rapping, I didn't think about breath control. It is not until you hit that stage when you realize that, you know, a performance is more than just rapping. You got to move around. You got to have the energy. Ideally, there is some audience interaction if you can get that. And then having that breath control is part of that, so you can finish your verse, not be on the you know, end of your breath to start the hook. And this is where, of course, you know, having hooks that you got some samples in that beat, or you got some pre-recorded vocals for just a hook, not a whole verse. I'm not about that. that gives you a little chance to catch your breath and not die on stage.
I mean, I think originally, if you think about the way hip hop started with all of the additional aspects and then having a DJ, that was definitely one of the big reasons of having a DJ. So you could stop, you could have somebody still mixing in music, and then, you know, you could do a little crowd control and catch your breath.
Yeah. And I mean, it started with the DJ. Really, the MC was secondary to the DJ, and so in a lot of aspects, you know, that DJ, the MC was just there to hype up that mix. It was a different dynamic when cats, especially when you independent, right? You ain't got no DJ. It's just you with your beat and your vocals, and you trying to get on stage and show some shit. Man, like, when depending on what you wrote, you know, like you got to be cognitive of like how it sounds in your head, and then when you write it, it's gonna sound a certain way when you read it in your mind, and then when you read it out loud sitting down, it's gonna feel a certain way when it come out. But then when you get up and you start moving around and trying to rap it, that's really the litmus test.
That's like cardiovascular exercise.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Especially if you're jumping up and down, or you swing side to side, doing a lot of. Some people are, you know, dancing if they're into that type of stuff as well. You know, that was a huge thing with MC Hammer. To rap and to dance like he did was a true feat. Now, you might not have been to his music, but as a performer, everybody respected Hammer in his day. Like, I mean,
the old days of the old side around the ear microphone.
Yep.
Where cats would be dancing.
So let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a performance? I know I have, where you're on stage and suddenly your mind goes blank. You don't know what the next line's going to be. What do you do?
You know, I will say probably only once have I completely gone blank on a verse, and I freestyled the rest of the verse.
Nice.
So I knew the first part and I got through most of it. I was like right there towards the end, there was just a few more bars and I was able to freestyle the end. Another time I noted in my mind, I was like, I can't let something like that happen again. I don't never want to get caught in that situation.
I can tell you from working with Legion, he's one of the most studied and probably diligent people when it comes to practicing music. He's not someone that wants to go and just be like, all right, let's make a song tonight and perform it tonight. Nah, he gonna want to sit down with that song for a couple weeks, really practice it, find out all the grooves in it. Like we've done a lot of practicing over the years in music where with other groups I never did that. It was always just like, all right, we made a song, let's go perform it. And it's like, do we even know how this is gonna sound live or what our energy is gonna be like? And if you don't think about that stuff, you know, I think people take for granted that performing rap is totally different than going in the studio.
Oh yeah, definitely. I was performing at the Parish at downtown 6th Street, and I forgot the whole second verse of my track. But no one who was there had heard it. They didn't know what was coming. Just freestyle the second verse, and it came out pretty well. That's another part I think is a forgotten art where a lot of folks kind of side diss freestyling. Like the only legitimate art is to be an album artist, but when you're a performance artist as well, and you're actually out there on the stage, having that ability to freestyle or do some ad libs, especially if you do have a fan base, you want to switch it up sometimes. You want to make sure it's keeping it live. And then, of course, there are those moments when you never know what's going to happen. There could be a heckler. You could have a white girl on stage at a Kendrick Lamar concert dropping the N-bomb. You don't know what's going to happen. You got to be able to kind of roll with the punches. That improvisational ability, I think, is part of the heart of what makes hip hop such an amazing craft.
Now, go ahead. Sorry. I was going to say one thing that has happened to me multiple times is like the music just cut off or something go completely wrong with it's not my fault. It's just like I'm rapping and then just it starts skipping or something. That's happened a few times, man.
Well, now, microphone malfunctions, those are fun too.
Were you
rapping hard, but people not hearing you? Like you're like, I don't think I'm hearing nothing come out the speakers. You like,
yeah, and people you can see in their eyes, like they're like some people are like in the crowd, like
you know, you looking back at the sound guy, like, hey, God. But I guess I wanted to touch on you as a producer as well as an MC. But I wanted to talk about your catalog a little bit. I don't know if a lot of people out there know how many projects that you've worked on thus far. You definitely are very active in the music community in terms of constantly making stuff. So touch on that a little bit, just, building a catalog and the desire to even build a music catalog. Some people aren't even that far. They haven't even made their first song. So maybe this will help them out as an independent artist to get that inspiration.
Well, I mean, for a long time, the one thing that I wanted to do the most was create an album, a project, a collection of music that was reflective of my mythos and personality and what I wanted to portray as an artist, and just have people hear it and appreciate it. Like, that was basically the dream that I had rapping. Like, I never really felt like, okay, my goal is to blow up and become rich beyond my dreams, right? Like, I don't really subscribe to the materialistic sort of mentality like that. And so, though I do realize we need money or whatever, my biggest thing was creative expression.
Popular music is taking over. Niggas say that they raw, but they baking soda. Take a hold of the game like the main controller. Feel no pressure from fans like I'm staying sober. Psychodrama with the llama. Pen on fire like I'm writing songs. Friend is started riot. Put them right in order. Rip the hardest rhyme and cook the mic recorder. Anyone who doubted knew about it. They say this new guy is too violent to buy it. 2,000 people in Dubai. Do I wouldn't hesitate to get to the moolah. Respect the shooter. Wet your medulla. Imported next level weapons from Cuba. Excellent Buddha. All in the mix like a record producer. I'm happy to view ya.
It was a struggle to do the first few projects that I ever tried. Like, a couple of projects, I got maybe 6-7 songs under my belt, and then the producer maybe moved or sold his mic or something crazy happened.
Sold his mic.
Yeah, to where just that straight up happened. Like, in the middle of a project, dude was like, I sold my mic, and I was like, what are we supposed to do now? And it messed up everything, bro.
God,
I've lost whole songs because the producer was like, I just lost it on my hard drive, like not just songs, but like whole bodies of work.
Yeah.
So I just made up my mind to do it myself, and I started figuring out how to produce on, because before, when I was producing, I produced on actual hardware, right? Like, every thing that would be on a computer program was a separate piece of equipment, right? That became impractical, and like, I remember I went to go buy a keyboard to revamp my studio, and they were like, we don't have keyboards to do what you're trying to do, which is like make it loop and quantize the beat and all of that. Like, they didn't have it anymore. They were like, you should get on Reason. And I was like, I don't have a computer. This was like right as things were transitioning over. So I had to learn how to work on the computer and be able to transition what I knew from the hardware onto software on the computer.
From analog to digital.
And so, then the next step was beats and stuff. So I had some residual music from those projects that I was telling you about that maybe fell through, that I compiled together and started just putting it out there, back in the MySpace days. I had all my stuff up there. And then when Facebook kind of started to become a thing, but before everybody was on there, I'd link the two, and you copy the link, put it on there, would make that ready pasted ad looking link there. And that was a thing that a lot of people weren't doing. Like, that just wasn't people weren't posting links like that on Facebook. So I got on there and just spammed the shit out of my shit. Just threw it out there to everybody, push, and people were not receptive at first at all. You know what I'm saying? None of the people that I knew were fucking with it. It was all people outside of my realm, you know what I'm saying, that appreciated it. And so, like, it can be discouraging, you know what I'm saying? So to your point, when you was talking about artists just trying to come out, the major thing is that you got to say fuck what anybody negative say, right?
Definitely.
Definitely you want to perfect your craft. You want to take into consideration when someone does criticize you on a legitimate thing, but if somebody tell you you'll never be able to whatever, don't listen to that shit. You know what I'm saying? Keep pushing, because there's people out there that'll listen. But as far as the catalog, as far as list of albums, the first album I made, because I eventually started my own label so that I could facilitate putting out my own music and stuff. And the first album that I put out was a compilation, you know, and the next few albums were compilations until I started working with solo artists and I started producing their stuff. So like Lady Pharaoh, Mr. White, you know, I'm always doing behind the scenes stuff for people. Like I mixed and mastered a bunch of songs. I've also sent people beats and sort of put collabs together that I wasn't on, that they promoted separately, you know.
Like A&R type work, essentially.
Yeah, there's a cat named Jedediah Breeze. I put him on a song with a guy named OD Young, who is now a really dope battle rapper. I put them on a Dr. Beatmaker beat, which is the producer that works with our group, Camouflage Crews. And they made a dope song that was played on the radio. And I want to say they won something for that, like some kind of award or something for that, for that song. Like, because they were really pushing it. It was a really good song.
I remember the one song that we did that you helped produce, Short Bus Rappers, about that debacle at the Love Goat, whose name is questionable at best.
Yeah,
and that was fun. It's always fun when you're able to create something that is from a real experience and you're not having to spend as much time trying to figure out what you're going to say. It's because you have shit you gotta say. And hip hop becomes that medium where it is really about self-expression. And so even though I wasn't on the lineup from all the debacle that happened, it made me angry to see how unprofessional they'd handle stuff, because you got to have professionalism when it comes to shows. Otherwise, how are you going to build repeat viewership? How are you going to build your catalog or your venues you perform at if people are effing up basic things like showtimes? I mean, you know, you got to have that.
And it's tough because you're expecting so much from those people when it comes to promoters and people who are trying to put on shows. As an artist, it's tough when they're not being genuine about their abilities to actually promote, actually manage a show. Some people are very amateurish, even when they have access to resources, right? And so it's definitely something that, you know, I think we've all experienced, you know, somebody who's very unprofessional, and it happens, you know, and that's one of the things that could also be very discouraging. One of the other things I want to talk about is you've been doing music for a while, and you know, we talked about LL as being one of your early influences, but what are some of the modern artists that you're listening to? And I mean, are you even into modern rap? Like, what vibes are you getting from 2021 and rap music?
And who is the best rapper alive?
Alive? Man. Okay, so to the first question, I mean, as far as modern rappers go, like I can't even really I don't even want to classify it like that. I'm hesitant to classify it like that just because, you know, everything was modern when it was out at the time, right? Like, so stuff that we think is old was modern when it came out. So this stuff right now is just the current music. Now, what I know is that rap ebbs and flows, right? And so you do get these periods of time where people don't really know what to do, you know? And so we get eras like the snap music era and stuff like that. But within each one of these styles, right, there is some dope stuff, right? Like I can think of snap era music, some songs that I like, similar to now, where you know, we have the trap R&B sort of vibe on everything. And you know, some of it is dope, right? I would say, of course, Kendrick Lamar is an artist that I fuck with tough. Always fuck with Tech Nine. He will be forever modern and right now, no matter what. He's always current. But you know, the baby, I fuck with the baby tough. You know, I know he's had some controversy recently, but his style, his music, like he actually rapping, you know what I'm saying? But he's rapping within this kind of new wave drill tongue twisting style, which is also not new. You know, that's another thing. Like I said, my influence is Bone Thugs and Harmony. And so I can remember when Bone came out, and some of my friends was like, I can't get with that old bibbity bobbity ass shit. Like, what? You don't even know what they saying. You can't even understand what they saying. And that is exactly what the fuck people say about mumble rap and also about a lot of the stuff that's out right now. Like, they couldn't understand it. They couldn't vibe to it because it just had a different feel, a different presentation, you know? Yeah. And in my mind, I'm like, how can you not appreciate how dope this is? When people would say that, you know, to me about Bone, you know what I'm saying? And so I see what's going on, and I see everything is sort of just a derivative of that older style, like 3 6 Mafia, Bone Thugs and Harmony, Twista type style, just a little watered down. It's not as technical and complex as those originators could get it, you know what I mean? But still with the vibe. So, you know, I fuck with it.
I think one of the things that really comes up, and Mr. White and I have discussed this before, is that why it gets watered down is for consumption. And one of the things that a lot of black people don't understand about white people and hip hop is that for white people, they really can't understand hip hop when they first hear it. Like they don't have the ability, the audio ability to comprehend the lyrics as they're being rapped. That's why what happened is when music industry kind of took another step forward towards creating slower rap, a lot of that was for consumption, for suburbanites, so they could actually hear and understand the lyrics that were being said. You know, as part of Lil Wayne's popularity, is that he raps real slow most of the time, and he has these punchlines that are just instantly digestible. People can hear and understand and comprehend that. And so I think that's a lot of the reason why. I think it comes down to making record sales based on who the target audience is and slowing it down for that purpose. But I do like seeing some of that Twista style come back. I do like that. I like fast rap. I like Bone Thugs and Harmony. Tech Nine is an incredible businessman as well as a performance artist to be able to perform that level of skill flawlessly. His shows are incredible.
He was kind of the model for what I tried to do independently. Tech Nine was, and I started out rapping fast. Like all my shit was as fast as I can get it. You know what I mean? It was just like Bone Thugs, Twista, Crucial Conflict, Do or Die, 3 6 Mafia. Anybody that was rapping fast was like my favorite shit. You know what I'm saying? To the point to where I got to where I didn't even want to listen to nothing if you wasn't chopping on it a little bit, you know. And that was something I had to step out of too, like because everybody started rapping fast. Like I knew some had changed when Nas tried to like do a tongue twisting song, and it didn't really.
You like
it really sound right. I was like, nah, this is not. You're not on the Jazz O Jay-Z shit. Or even Big L. Big L had some shit where he would kind of flip it kind of fast in parts and stuff. I used to love that shit, man. And so, you know, I'm glad that it's coming back and people are having the appreciation for how hard that is. You know, because it's just as hard to come up with slower rhymes with metaphors and punchlines of substance that are impactful as it is to rap a chopper verse where maybe you don't have as much of that, but you're consecutively rhyming in that 16.
It's like technical drumming. Like if you listen to like heavy metal with the triple bass stuff, like that stuff is, or you listen to jazz in the way that they play some of those cadences, definitely. Like that stuff is super technical and it's fast. Like it's really like some people don't even think of jazz as a fast music, but tempos of jazz are starting at 170. You know, so like it's a lot of stuff when it comes to speed that it requires you to even have a better understanding of how you're writing stuff, because you can't use all of the same types of words when you're rapping fast. You sometimes you have to omit things. You have to have different types of patterns that allow. It's like, Migos obviously repopularized the triplet flow, but the reason why they're not even necessarily fast rappers, but they sound fast because they're bunching up a whole bunch of words in a short period of time in that bar, and then they're breaking. But that, it's allowing you, basically slowing the beats down, rapping fast in a section of it is allowing people to even sound faster, even if they're not rapping that rapid fire Tech 9 back to back pace or Twister back to back pace. And no, it's cool to see the it's like evolution, but also derivative, right? Like it's not necessarily like work is brand new. It's just the flavors are getting added and mixed in. So
yeah, they haven't evolved the style, I would say, but they have created something else within that style that is more palatable to the audience today than maybe just a straight fast rap all the way through would be. Even though people appreciating that more and more. I mean, Eminem lost his mind with that here recently. Yeah. Like, have y'all noticed Eminem just turned into like a chopping fast rapper? Like,
yeah, that's pretty much all he wants to do now. Yeah,
yeah, he's been doing some stuff there. So let me ask you this, and we're gonna wrap the interview up. What is so your group is a Camouflage Crew. If you have any shows coming up, feel free to let us know. I know it's a crazy time right now. Things a little different. But let us know what's one of your favorite tracks, and we'll put it in here. As long as there's no copyright infringement issues, we'll slice it in here and play that as a break in the interview as well as an outro. So just let us know what we can put on for you.
Sure. Well, I mean, we just released an album a couple of months ago called War Room Volume 3. Myself, Mr. Wyte, and our newest member, Azazel. One of the tracks on there is a track that we did with Planet Asia. It's really dope.
Nice.
Play that. And we also, one of my favorite songs on that project is a song called Unstable.
Where can people find your music? Where can they go?
Everywhere. You type it in Legion d.wise if you want to find me personally. And then Camouflage Crews, 2 words, if you want to look for our group stuff. But if you look me up, you're gonna find everything. It's gonna lead you down a long rabbit hole. So
we'll include definite links to your music in the podcast as well.
For sure. I appreciate y'all having me on, man. I enjoyed the conversation. I enjoy these conversations about hip hop, and I enjoy vibing with y'all.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, and for all of our fans out there, all of our listeners, comment below how you got started with hip hop and how do you feel it's been changing over time, and who is the best hip hop artist alive right now. Like and subscribe. Tune in next Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time for another episode of From the Jump.
First big payday was on the Ave. They say they streetin', I laugh. Asking questions like, what it mean when the birds take a bath? I keep 2 poles, my ride and my staff. So I hope you prepared to meet God's wrath. I'm dedicated to my craft. So if you hear this and you get chills, you should know it ain't a cold draft. Clear path.
In poisonous poems and venomous songs. Pinpoint targets with arms and drop bombs. Bring me along. Over the edge, the thoughts in my head shake the earth and wake the dead. Sinister soliloquy, more lines and legs on millibeats. Burn it to the ground, if this what it is, then let it be. Standing on the ledge, over the edge, the thoughts in my head shake the earth and wake the dead.
I'm Molotov mics in the night, with the energy to cause a street fight. Knuckle up, baby, buckle up. It's dangerous on the Ave, they flaming guns, slinging crumbs. Hennessy and Jameson, the eyes of the jungle, bloodshot, the disgruntled smirk of a crook, posing for the pick in his first mugshot. My 7.5 is working, oh that's for certain. We in the lab cooking and cooking until it's closed curtains. I'm busting shots at the serpent for a purpose. The 7 stars represent the 7 churches. Watch what you worship, don't miss the revelations. You'll be caught up like the listeners.